Oh man, Valiant Warriors. We got a first time event going on right here. Our first official guest on Valiant Watch, and it's a doozy. All right. I hope you're buckled in because you're in for a wild ride. Right now we have Emily Hecht, digital marketing manager of Valiant Entertainment, joining us today, and it's gonna be good.
I'm a tough guest, you guys. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Hey, as you can see, we are very excited to have you on.
Am I really the first guest? I'm so honored.
Yeah, you are. You're going to be the first one. Just starting a whole new chapter of Valiant Watch here today.
I believe this is episode 10, so kind of what a great way to kick off our 10th episode, right?
Love it. Double digits.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
I can dig it. So let's get right into it. So today, March 24th, big day for Valiant. As we know, a little movie named Bloodshot.
Bloodshot.
Oh, now I feel bad I didn't wear my Bloodshot shirt.
The amount of Valiant t-shirts I have at this point is it's just insane. It's ridiculous.
I can dig it.
I think I have every character at this point.
Oh. I can dig it. I'm gonna start working on getting like all the cat variants. That's like my next pad project. I want like a cat faith shirt.
I think there's a bunch of those. They're so fun. There's every so often I'll go through into our like our files online and I'll find an unused outtake picture from one of the cats, and it's always the best part of my day.
Oh, all right. So going back to the Bloodshot movie being released on streaming, that's some big ground you're breaking there. It's really kind of the first major movie to just go right at it, and the world's going through some madness, and I think it's a big thing for you guys to really be taking that first pioneering step. So what's the buzz around the office like about that?
The virtual office. Honestly, we're all super proud of it. I know that this is, a challenging, difficult, scary, weird time, and that makes things different. I don't necessarily think for Bloodshot it makes them worse. We when we did open, before everything sort of started shutting down, we did have the #1 movie worldwide, which is unreal to even right. It's unreal to even think about that I got to be a tiny little part of that process. And just I run all of our social media, so seeing just the fan response and just both the enjoyment of the movie and also just sort of the emotional response of fans being like, this thing that I've been waiting for 30 years is real. Like that is the biggest thing personally for me, is seeing that joy. But I think the movie's so fun. And honestly, having it come to people's homes right now, it's a really great escape for a couple hours. And so I think it's gonna do really well for people. So I think the general feeling around the office is, everyone's safety is the priority, everyone's health is the priority, but we're
Absolutely.
Very happy that the Bloodshot movie can be a part of that enjoyment for people. And it seems like it's being received really, really well by a lot of wonderful fans.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. I don't know if my wife's going to be happy she loved it, by the way, but I don't know if she's going to love it after like the 4 billionth time since I'll be able to watch it in my own home. But whatever, when she like learns all the lines, she'll be right along with me. She'll still love it, right?
Well, at least hopefully, I hope you guys can join. There's 2 watch parties happening. So one I think is going to come out before this podcast goes up tonight, Tuesday. Comicbook.com is hosting a fun quarantine watch party of the film with Dave Wilson and Sam Hewen, and then Valiant we're doing our own that I'm kind of running on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern with #Bloodshot Party. So if you want to come hang out on Twitter and do that with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you haven't already, then go put on your mask, get your gloves, and go get your movie snacks, because that's going to be something you don't want to miss.
Well, we're all gonna wear themed outfits. I'm gonna maybe think up a Bloodshot cocktail. It's gonna be great.
Definitely sounds like a good time. All right. So speaking of new things going on with Valiant, there's a lot of just great things happening, with you guys. You got Final Witnesses getting ready to come out. Exo Man of War #1 is about to drop. Quantum and Woody #3. Like, if you've ever seen our show before or seen our Twitter page, you know that we are very big fans of Bloodshot, Tim Seeley and Brett Booth, Rye. I mean, it's got to be a very exciting time to be in the mix of everything. So how's that been for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. I don't know if you saw the news recently that Heather Antos and Lisa Hawkins got promoted to senior editors.
So excited.
Yes.
Me too, honestly. I mean, I get to work with them every day, and they're both really unique, and they bring such different perspectives and experiences to comics and to Valiant in particular. So having them leading the charge, I think, is going to make books that are really smart and challenging and have a big, wide range of genre while still maintaining that Valiant core. One of the things that I'm really excited for with the line coming up, and obviously some scheduling is going to be moved around because of, everything's happening. But the books that we have coming up, a lot of which are already, done and ready to go, is genre. We've got a huge, huge range of genre, which is so much fun. We've got noir and action and sci-fi and with horror with Shadow Man. So yeah, that's the one, honestly, not to play favorites, but like the first issue of Shadow Man is so legit. It's so good.
You heard it here first.
It's so good, you guys. I mean, I love that kind of stuff, so it's just like right up my alley. But yeah, it feels like there's really a way for anyone to come into the Valiant universe and find a spot that they really enjoy. And you might want to read one book, you might want to read all of them, but there's something, I really feel like there's something for everybody. So yeah, It's a great time to be here.
Really cool.
Definitely.
I think like Kenneth helped pull me into it like that, and like a great way to get into the Valiant universe. And I think it is a great time right now. Is there any way you could kind of speak more towards how you got into Valiant comics and how you became a fan, kind of like us?
Yeah. So I actually had a really weird journey to Valiant. I used to be an actor. Yeah, I used to be an actor and a singer. Can you tell? I don't like attention. Can you tell?
Which looks great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I honestly, it was kind of Punk Bombo inspired. I couldn't help myself.
Oh, so cool.
So yeah, I did that for a while in New York, and then I realized I loved doing acting, but I didn't love being an actor. And I ended up finding myself working part-time in a small comic book store in the West Village because I had fallen in love with comics while on tour as an actor. It was a great way to get away from the theater world for a minute and go to whatever town we were in. I'd go to the local comic shop and escape for a little bit. So that's how I fell in love with comics. And then I started working in a little comic book store, met Matthew Klein, our VP of Sales and Marketing now. And he brought me in as a part-time salesperson. And then I ended up coming on full-time and transitioning over to the marketing team because I'm on the internet all the time anyway.
Yeah.
And I will say this, I had not read a lot of Valiant before I started working with Valiant, which I feel like actually gives me a weirdly helpful perspective for getting new people involved because I can see what drew me in as someone who didn't know what I was missing. So now that's kind of my message for a lot of people is like, if you're not reading Valiant, you don't know what you're missing. You trust me. So yeah, I absolutely, I read Harbinger by Joshua Dysart and I was like, oh, okay, we're here now. I live here now.
That's a good defining moment, I think.
Yeah, that's one thing we've touched on before is that whenever new readers get into Valiant, it's just like prepare to say goodbye to a lot of your time because
it's ridiculous.
All it takes Harbinger words. By the time you're done, you're like, well, now I got to read all about Bloodshot.
Right.
And then once you're done with that, you're like, well, Ninjak. And then wait a minute, Exo Man of War. I got to get into that. You're like, there's so much.
Honestly, once Bloodshot ate those like 8 cows with his face ripped off, I was like, you're my favorite. We're done. This is it. Yeah. I'm sold. Yeah, so it's been great to sort of like realize how much of a big back catalog I've been able to catch up on. And I go to conventions all the time. And I get to do that with other people. I get to say, tell me 3 TV shows you like, and I will put the perfect Valiant comic in your hands. Because there's always an answer, you know?
I like that. I might have to steal that.
That used to be when I was working at the comic book store, that was my trick too, to get people to start comics was, okay, tell me 3 TV shows and I will know what comic to put in your hands.
I like that.
Yeah, that's
Definitely
interesting.
like that. All right. So
Sorry, guys.
speaking of,
I'm a talker, and I haven't talked to anyone in 2 weeks.
Right?
no, that's what we like. I'm just soaking it all in because this is just a great insight. But speaking of, okay, you did mention Bloodshot being a favorite. So if you had to pick like a top 5, let's say top 3 or top 5, who would you go
Top
with as
5
far as
Valiant characters?
Uh-huh.
Are you? Those are my children.
Am I putting you on the spot there a little too much?
Yeah, like
We can come back to that one if you'd like.
No, I can do it.
Okay.
Gosh darn it, I can do it. Okay. I'm gonna try to pick from the more major people probably, just because if we get into like Gub and stuff, we'll never stop talking. Do you know how many times I've walked into editorial and tried to pitch a Gub series? Like,
oh, that would be amazing.
Yes. Take my money.
I'd say I tend to gravitate towards the badass ladies. So I love Livewire. I think V-Dial did such amazing work with Livewire, and Punk and Dr. Mirage. Those are the ones I tend to gravitate towards when I'm recommending to friends of mine. Is Dr. Mirage is a clear winner a lot of the time because it crosses all those supernatural horror TV show kind of genres that a lot of people enjoy. I'd say Bloodshot too. Bloodshot and Archer. Let's put Archer in there.
Ooh.
Oh, I was expecting that, but that's what's up. That's what's up.
No,
Archer and Armstrong are so good.
Look, Archer is my tiny, good-hearted assassin son. I love him so much. And of course, I mean, Faith goes without saying. Honestly, she kind of exists in her own pantheon for me.
Yeah, here's the thing about Faith, right? If people that don't like Faith, it's kind of like when dogs don't like a person. You're like, there's probably something wrong with them. It's kind of the same thing. Like if you don't like Faith, I'm like, I don't know, man. You got any skeletons in your backyard?
All comic book fans are valid, and their preferences are valid.
It's true.
I'm just kidding. Internet, I'm just kidding. I promise. I promise. Or am
Faith, it is hard to imagine someone not liking Faith because she's basically the girl who goes to all the Comic-Cons who learns she can fly. How is that not the best thing ever?
Exactly. She's so relatable and just enthusiastic and.
Faith cosplayers are also, when I get to see them at cons, they're always like the sweetest, nicest people. They're always so excited.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love it.
I can dig it. I can definitely dig it.
But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot going on with Valiant right now, and I know that there's some scheduling issues right now. So I wonder if you could kind of get some insight into your job right now as the marketing manager and kind of what you're wanting to emphasize and what fans can look forward to, right now during all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's super challenging, and I think a lot of people are rightfully really anxious and unsure of what's going on. There aren't going to be new comics shipping for a while. Obviously, we don't know how long, so that moves stuff around for us because really important to us on that is listening to the comic book stores and the retailers and what they want and seeing, okay, well, you don't want us to launch a new #1 right now because how are you going to sell it? And we don't want to release anything digitally that we're not releasing to stores as well. So yeah, scheduling is going to move around. So I think the most important thing for me, because I'm digital marketing. So that means, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, email, pretty much. Weirdly, I feel like my job becomes very central right now because it's the only way that we can connect with our fans.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that that's what I get to do because that means that I get to be somebody who can directly connect with somebody in a time when that's not super easy. And I can directly provide some comfort or distraction or benefit to people. So obviously, we're going to use this time to reach out to new people, say, hey, here's a lot of fun stuff you can read while you're at home. We are every weekday between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern. We're putting out a new free PDF of a comic in a big thread.
Yes.
Yeah, I can give you guys all the links and stuff. So
many good books so far. I've been watching.
The marketing team has been having a lot of fun picking and choosing what we're putting out.
The Valiant Valiant comics. So to see that start, I was just like, yes.
There was no question. Like that's such a good starter book. Yeah, so we're putting out a new complete trade every Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're putting out a #1 issue or a one shot or something that's a good starting point. So we're doing that. We have a big thread as well of comic book stores that are doing curbside pickup and local delivery and mail order. Because they're going through a really tough time right now. So if your local store is doing something cool or doing something that's still safe, please support them. And we're, doing the watch parties, and I'm just on Twitter all day now, just hanging out. So you can just come talk to Valiant Comics, and it's just me. Like, I'll just come talk to you.
Oh my gosh.
Come hang out and nerd out with me. That's fine.
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah. And we're definitely putting out some cool stuff. I'll just put a quick plug in for the Valiant Voice. That's our weekly newsletter. We always put out a big list of fun stuff to do and read in that. So if you want to sign up for that, we always sort of aggregate everything from the week in there.
I think the newest one just dropped today. I think I just saw
it. Did, yeah.
I always am looking forward to that. The image, I think there was a promo image of the latest Bloodshot where he's yelling and the Valiant voice was coming out of it. That like it was the letter, and I was like, "Oh, that is so cool!" Like,
I make those.
Oh, nice.
Really?
I'm so glad someone appreciates them. They're my favorite thing I do all week.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing. Like of all the like fan letters and whatnot, it's great. Like you can tell that it's not just something that you just slap together and you're just like, all right, this will like you can feel that you put like some actual like love into them. I can dig it. I definitely dig it.
This is everything I've ever wanted in an interview.
Like this whole show really came together so we could just like fan out over Valiant. Really,
that's really what
guys. I'm right there with you, honestly.
Like I think that's great because I've never seen a publisher really engage with their fans that like Valiant or on that level. And I think that helps to really pull me back in as a reader. Is that something that is like a part of y'all's initiative to really engage like that?
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, so I've only been full-time with Valiant for about, a year and a half now. So I can't take credit. I inherited like the best fan community in the world to be involved in. Like there's no comparison. The Valiant fans were having a yearly poker game at San Diego when the company wasn't even publishing. Like you guys are the best fans. I was at a con not for work last year, and I heard someone yell Emily, and I turned around and it was a Valiant fan that I gotten to know from a bunch of conventions, and I was so excited to see him.
All right.
I feel like I'm part of a family, which is and everyone's been so welcoming, even to somebody who's relatively a newbie. So yeah, the Valiant fans are of the utmost importance to us. They're the lifeblood of the company. They're huge. And it makes the biggest difference in the world that I get to go online every day and interact with people who I look forward to interacting with.
So crazy for the comic community too. I mean, like I come from a lot of Marvel and DC background, and when I jumped into Valiant, I thought, wow, this is what I'm looking for in comics, from the content to the fandom to the company. It's just really cool.
And there's a lot. It feels like there's a lot of like cycling through. Like people aren't just a fan. There's people who were fans that work there. There's people who work there that are now fans. There's a lot of artists and writers and even musicians like Sound of Thunder who are just like part of the community. Yeah, it's nice. It is hard to find nice corners of the internet sometimes, and it's nice that we have that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's got to make your day. Like. It's great when you have a job that you love, but it's got to be even better when you have people that also love, the job that you're doing, and their interactions. Like when you talk on Twitter and stuff, it's always great, and so that's got to be just something great, just every day, just being able to, just enjoy.
Are you kidding?
Life.
I feel so loved. It's amazing. Like there's the Valiant Comics fan Facebook group that we don't run. We don't have anything to do with. Sometimes we'll, give giveaways for Fan Art Fridays or whatever, but that's completely fan run. And they just put in birthday wishes for us. I don't even know how they know all of our birthdays. But, they find them on Facebook, and Rob will just, he'll stick like a happy birthday Emily in there, and a bunch of people who I've never gotten to even meet in person will wish me a happy birthday. And it's so nice.
Yeah, like that's so indicative of the fandom, just so welcoming.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten like gifts from people. Like someone made me a little knit Faith doll. Someone drew me a little Roku. It was David and Linda did the knit, and Eric did the roundling. Gosh, I hope I did that right. But yes, shout out to them because they are on my desk.
That's so crazy because when we started this podcast, we got gifts in from fellow Valiant podcasts.
Really?
Posters. It was the Valiant Central, the Valiant Get Valiant. We got letters from them welcoming us to the Valiant family with like all kinds of like gifts. The posters behind Ken, I believe.
Oh, yeah, actually, check this out. Now that you mention it, I'm glad that I kept this around. But yeah, this was a note that they sent. One of the packages we got.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so sweet.
And it's just really great to be a part of a fandom that's like that because I really haven't seen it in comics before.
Yeah.
And I think that does speak to, the people behind the scenes that aren't necessarily creators like yourself that are like pushing Valiant and kind of interacting like that. I think that's huge for a company. And then, also you get to put Bloodshot by Tim Seeley in somebody's hands and be like, enjoy,
Yeah, oh, that's so much fun. The second issue of that, the first page where he just jumps into a whirling helicopter blade.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of the Tim Seeley Bloodshot, I think that's one of the things that I love about Valiant right now is that the way you put your teams together are just hitting like on all cylinders. Everything about like say Bloodshot in particular, is a great mix of like all the different eras of Bloodshot, and it just goes to show that you guys are really cognizant of like what your fans want, and just putting out just great stuff. I guess really my question there would be, how has the interaction been with some of the newer creative teams? Because you have a lot of new faces. Tim Seeley being one of them. Dennis Hopeless, a lot of guys that are more usually associated with like the big two or Image or whatnot. So you're getting a lot of fresh faces on the creative side. How's that been?
It's been really great. So obviously I don't have nearly as much interaction with them as, like editorial does. And full credit to editorial, our whole team, Heather and Lisa and David and Drew, and Robert, they've put together just, amazing teams and pairings that not necessarily would have expected. And so I think, I'm sure they'll come on at some point and they can speak to that. But one thing I've seen from the creators on the social media side and in the little I've gotten to interact with them is that they are so excited to play with us. I think that's what's worked so well from what I've seen is that Valiant is a tight enough universe and a small enough universe that you've got the bones and then you just get to put whatever you want on top of them. And as long as the editorial's guiding you to make sure that you're respecting that foundation and respecting those bones, you can go in so many different directions. And I think that's what you see with Tim, what he's doing, and what you will see very soon with Dennis and Emilio and what they're doing with XO is that they took what was there and then looked at it from their perspective. And so it's true to the character, but it's still new and different and exciting. And a lot of I have to give a shout out here to Christopher Hastings who writes Quantum and Woody's. He goes above and beyond. If you haven't seen it, please check out the Clang cocktail video that he made. Yes, he designed a Quantum and Woody fizzing cocktail that is my favorite thing that's ever existed. So like the fact that these creators are excited to play and excited to join us and excited to do stuff like that, like I mean that's how you get a good comic, is when people are excited about what they're doing. Like Mag Visaggio with Dr. Mirage, she talks about that book like she says it's one of the best things she's ever done. She's so proud of it. She still talks about it, and her being proud of it makes us more excited about it too,
That's
for sure.
I was actually lucky enough to get to talk to her before that series dropped, and we
cool.
did like a brief interview that was supposed to be brief, and then we found ourselves talking for like 40 minutes. So it was awesome to transcribe, but it was such an insightful and just awesome insight into, you know, how she approaches storytelling. And I think that is across the board, really. But, you know, if your role in social media, a lot of these new faces that we've seen are pretty active in social media. Like you said, the cocktail drink, I was immediately gathering the ingredients for that one. You know? You get excited when you see, you know, somebody who's a little bit more active on social media that you can engage with more, you know, from the Valiant account and kind of that level of interaction.
Oh yeah, it's always great. I mean, the thing about comics is that, you know, there are so many people who are either not reading our comics or not reading any comics at all who would really enjoy them. But there's so many comics out there. There's so much media out there that it's about pinpointing. From my role in introducing new people, a lot of it's about, you know, finding that in of like, hey, I know you will like this. Here's how I'm going to convince you that you'll like this. And one of the great things about these creators who are really active is that they have their own fan bases and their own followings, and they have people who know and love their work and get to have that kind of connection with them, you know. And there's creators who don't do that at all, and that's great too. But someone like Vita or like Mags, who is new to the Valiant universe and can bring their fan base in and their people in and say, this is something a little new from me, try this out. Oh, it's always really great. And I've known Vita for years, even before I was in comics, just small world. So it's always very fun to interact with them on Twitter because it's just like hanging out with my buddy.
Right. I've noticed like some of my favorite Twitter followers are also, you know, people who are writing and creating content with Valiant, and I'm seeing this sync up, you know.
Yeah. No, it's comics is a small and weird and wonderful world.
Yeah. And that's like a thing too that with the Valiant World, it's, you know, I've kind of struggled to really put a label on how that would translate over to like to explain to somebody else, you know. And the only situations I've ever been in that's kind of comparable is almost like when I was in the army, like the camaraderie there, or like when I was a musician, you know, musician circles, everybody knows everybody. It's really cool the way you guys have built like this very personable feel. You know, it doesn't feel like you're just like this big company that's just looking down. And
you guys are gonna make me cry. The nicest interview ever.
Well, we aim to please. But that's
you're telling me nice things about what I'm doing. It's great.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm sorry. I'll let you continue.
It's okay. Gotta give credit where credit's due, you know? So go ahead, feel free. Emotional outbursts, you're always welcome.
Oh God, no! It's just a big circle of appreciation and love. It's just lovely. Sorry. So you were saying, yeah, that we don't necessarily feel like a big corporate entity.
I guess well, yes, that's very true. Even though, you know, it's like obviously you are when you're, you know, a major comic book publisher, but for yourself, how does that translate as far as like when you're interacting with fans? Does it make them feel like more at home with you, or I guess the best way I could put it is, does the reputation of Valiant, how well does that like make your job easier or harder? Like, what are kind of the pros and cons there?
I think it makes my job a lot easier for the most part. I think that there's a lot of like trust that's been built up between the company and the fans, and because we are small and we do everything in-house pretty much, it means that the person who's doing the digital marketing is also getting a lot of face time with people. I think that's actually, funnily enough, I think that's kind of the challenge too, a little bit, is because I love what I do and I love the people I work with and I love the people I get to talk to. So making sure that I keep, you know, my personal and my Valiant life a little bit separate is actually like a bit of a challenge, because it's so easy to just let it all spill over into each other, because my social circles and my work circles are so closely overlapped. So for me, the challenge is a little bit making sure that I keep those separate, and that Emily's social media and Emily's life and the Valiant life and the Valiant social media don't completely overlap. And I'm not working 24 hours a day, but also not working at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the history of the trust with the company and the love between the fans and the company is a huge part of how I'm able to do anything fun on Twitter. But it can almost be a little too fun sometimes, and I have to force myself to go do other things.
Gotta remember to adult. You gotta be.
I
Gotta
gotta
get
do
my
laundry,
adulting
man.
hat back on.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, yeah, we've done like we're obviously huge fans of everything Valiant's done. I think
Oh, I
that's
see your Twitter. I know.
yeah, yeah, right. Like it's just one thing after another, and I really can't get over it. But what are some of the challenges that you've seen or that you've noticed in both social media and publishing content in comics right now? And what are some of the difficulties in your position and in both with the company as well?
That's a really good question. Well, I said something a little bit about this earlier. I think a big challenge in comics right now, especially for a company that's not one of the big two with all the name recognition, and I would speak, I'd say this for kind of anybody, is that it's great that there's so much content, and it's great that there's so many comics, but that also makes it really hard to break through the noise. If you look at the previews catalog, it's a phone book, so. And there's something for everybody, but how do you figure out how to get someone to your thing?
Yeah.
And I think another challenge for doing social media for a comic book publisher rather than a comic book store is that this is a little conceptual, but I'm selling you the comic, but you're not buying it from me.
Yeah.
So there's this weird gap between I say, hey, go read Punk Mambo, and then the fan's like, cool, I'll do that. Let me go somewhere else to do that. And you can't follow up with me and give me a discount code or anything because I'm going to my local store. Let me go call my local store, which is great. The local stores are a huge part of the industry, and they're so important. But there is a digital challenge to that where I'm pushing the books as hard as I can, and the stores are too, but there's no easy pipeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
So
not like a streamlined process.
Yeah, so we're working on some workarounds for that, landing pages with special newsletters and that kind of thing. But we've done a couple, and we're sort of experimenting and seeing what we can come up with, because we want to make the store's job as easy as possible. We want to make selling Valiant a breeze. So yeah, the noise is a big one. And of course, social media is tough because it's always less words and less context than you would like. So, I always find myself having to edit down my tweets word by word because I can't say everything I want to say.
Yeah. I know that struggle very well.
So yeah, the digital to physical challenge is a big one, definitely.
I think that's interesting because it is in touch with a larger picture of comics. I think Comic-Con's done a lot of numbers that show the industry is just as strong as it was, even 20 years ago, but there's a lot more being published. And I think that speaks to, what you're saying. There's something for everybody, but there's this many comics being sold, but it's now spread out over a lot more different titles. And then how do you get, your connected universe to break through in that?
Yeah.
To rope it back to the beginning of the discussion, I think Bloodshot is a great way to do that. I think, that movie is putting Bloodshot's name in a lot of people's mouths across the world. And that's bringing Valiant attention.
Yeah.
Is there what was the challenge and kind of benefits in capitalizing on that recognition it offered and then translating it into comics?
Well, I think a big thing is, so when I was on the sales side, I would talk to store owners every day. We have a sales team that calls retailers and speaks to them all the time. And one of the questions we were asking a lot was, hey, the movie's coming out next year. What can we do for you? What will help you? Because we have heard in the past that, and you can see it, on Comic-Con or whatever, you can see that a big movie doesn't always translate to big bumps in the comic sales for a character. It's not something that's necessarily a one-to-one. It happens sometimes, it doesn't happen other times. So one of the things that we wanted to do really, really clearly was to make sure that the stores had a single Bloodshot item that they could put in a new customer's hands. So they didn't have to worry about, okay, well, start here or start here or start here. We made the definitive edition, which is the first, I want to say 14 issues of the 2012 run. The whole origin story. So we made a big paperback edition of that called the definitive edition. And we were like, hey, stores, that one. Just do that one.
Yeah.
If you want to upsell it, if they want something smaller, try the #1 by Tim Seeley. But if they just want if they're interested because of the movie, put this in their hands. That's all you need to do.
Awesome.
So
Nice.
I think it was a lot of listening to the retailers was really important to us on that, because they're the ones who know why things translate or don't.
Yeah. So such a good point. And I know we don't want to keep you here all night and all of that.
I have time. Where am I gonna go?
Right? Yeah, it's true. We're kind of in that position. But we talk a lot about what we've been reading with Valiant, and I'm just curious, like on a personal side, what do you kick back with Valiant and enjoy?
I'm gonna have to really watch myself very carefully here, because some of what I kick back with isn't out yet.
What?
Well, I have to read it. We have like
real.
reviews and stuff that we need to do. I'm not stealing them from editorial. They're giving them to me. No, but just shout out to our incredible editorial department, because they're working like 6-7 months ahead sometimes. It's crazy how far ahead they are. We've seen pages from books that are from like December. Yeah, it's wacky. They're just incredible. So I would say, for me, I do tend to like the darker stuff. And the sort of the more like gross and bloody horror stuff.
I like that.
So I when Punk Mamba was out, that was my jam. I'm very, very excited for you guys to see Shadow Man when we're able to put it out. Of stuff that's out right now, honestly, I'd say Quantum and Witty is probably my top, just because it's so dense in terms of like the number, like the jokes per page ratio is it's just like that's a very rereadable series for me.
Yeah.
So when I'm kicking back and I've got lots of extra time on my hands, that's the one I'll go back to, because it's just there. You'll always find something new in the corner of a page or something, because Ryan Brown does such a good job.
So cool.
All right. So that being said, is there anything on the horizon that you can shed a little bit of light on?
Oh, he's trying.
Just make sure nobody's watching me. Well, it's tough. I will say here's what I will say. I just don't want to get in trouble. We have been putting out these like Valiant 2020 teasers on social, and some of them it's been revealed what they are, and some of them it has not. I would say for hints about what's going to come, I would look at those, because there's some big characters who are coming back, and you will see those are good hints. And I will talk to my bosses and see if I can slip anything your way. I will do my best. But I will say that we're also going to see some really we're also going to see some really cool stuff in the Bloodshot issues that are coming from after the movie. There's some very, very cool stuff coming in those that I will not say anything more about, but it's very exciting.
Ooh.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
I like that answer a lot.
Watch hashtag Valiant 2020. Watch that hashtag. We are continuing to put out lots of like cryptic teasers and little things, and we probably show more than we should.
That stuff gets me through my day. You have no idea.
Yeah. Honestly, if you could see our chats back and forth, like when we saw the hand with the tooth, we're like, it's gotta be Savage. It's gotta be Savage. It's gotta be Savage.
Oh man. And about Savage, because I've seen a lot of it now. It's so fun. It's so fun. Our editor, David Menschel, who's doing that book, describes it as Almost Famous meets Jurassic Park.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's so
Okay.
it's so fun, and it's not necessarily what you'd expect from Savage, but it fits so well. So get ready for like a very weird, fun mashup of genre on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, great for it. The first panel, that was my first reaction, was this is not what I saw coming, like at all.
Right? Yeah. But once you settle in, you're like, oh yeah, mm-hmm. absolutely, this is where it's going.
Yes, so excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
what's up.
you know, you guys are part of the Valiant family. You ever want to try to get some hints out of me? Just shoot us an email. You're part of the fam.
Uh,
I'll see
thank
what I
you.
can do.
I'm dangerous. We'll be emailing you.
I'm not necessarily going to say yes, but like I
Okay.
could do my best.
Okay. Okay.
All right. All right. We're gonna do a test run real quick. Blink twice if we are gonna get a Punk Mambo Shadow Man crossover.
Oh.
Is it gonna happen?
I say nothing. I can't blink or not blink. There's no.
Okay, I just got to talk to Cole and Bun about the Shadow Man. We did a short, like 5-question interview, and that was one that I had to ask. We were like, we got to ask about Shadow Man and Punk Mambo, and his answer, short, was absolutely yes. I would love to. So, I mean, to me, I'm just waiting now.
I think Cullen has so many cool ideas and is so down to explore the Valiant universe and take it new places and deepen it. And I mean that, yeah, no matter what, just get excited for what Cullen's doing.
Right.
He's nowhere near done.
Yes.
But
Okay.
please, if you guys are feeling, you know, and this is to the fans and everybody, if you guys are feeling down, feeling lonely, feeling like you want to nerd out a little bit, I am going to be on Twitter all day, every day for you guys, because I know that this is really rough. And I miss you guys too. And so please come and hang out. Comics in Quarantine is a really fun hashtag that a lot of people are on. Come to the watch party on Friday. And just, you know, if there's anything we can do for you guys or the fans or the retailers, never ever hesitate to ask, because that's why we get to do what we do, and we love you all and we want you to be okay.
Well, all right. I think on that note, that was a perfect note to wrap up. Thanks for being with us, Emily. It's been phenomenal. We couldn't have asked for a better first guest. Valiant Warriors out there watching, enjoy episode 10. Emily, you have any final words for our viewers?
Follow our Twitter account. Make me look good to my bosses.
There you go.
Is that right? Is that the good one?
That is. Until next time, Valiant Warriors.
Okay.